Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Happy New Year! It is January 1st and I am doing a quick little card making tutorial for you today. These are the images I colored with my PROmarkers a couple days ago. I'll put a link in the video description, so if you want to check out that tutorial, you can see how I colored these. And of course that tutorial will work with any alcohol markers that you have. And I also wanted to talk about using stuff we already have today, because I know a lot of people are trying to spend less in the new year and get more use of out of what they have, and get rid of things that they don't use. So what I want you to do is look through your stash and find some papers that will work with whatever card you're making. So I just picked up this Nana's Kitchen mat stack I've had for a couple of years, and I thought, you know what, I can go through and I can find a paper, even from this one, it's like a kitchen theme paper that will go with my card. And I really like this green. It's got a little bit of a glitter on it. It's a nice high quality paper, and I thought this would be really fun to use. Now I'm going to show you how to make a torn frame today. So I like these mat stacks because if you use like a 5x7 card, that's an envelope, I'm just going to set that aside. So if I use this 5x7 card and I use one of these mat stacks, see how it works pretty perfectly? The size on these are, I think they're like 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, so they work really good with a regular 5x7 card. Actually, it's 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. It's meant to mat your photos to make it kind of simple to scrapbook, but I really like it for card making. So to make a torn frame, what we're going to do is we're going to use a pair of scissors and we're going to cut out the center. So I'm just gonna poke a hole in the center here. Go ahead and use an X-Acto knife and a cutting mat if you like, but I'm upstairs in my winter craft area, so this is what I'm gonna do. So there is gonna be some paper waste in the middle. If that bothers you, which, you know, waste does bother me, obviously, you could kind of cut it out a little closer and maybe save the center, but you do need a little bit of area for tearing. So what I'm going to do is just tear the middle towards myself so I get this pretty white deckled edge. And so if you have this extra space to work from, you can actually tear really close to the edge. Alright, so I'm just going to keep on tearing and keep on tearing. Just don't tear through the corner. You wanna make sure that you end up with a nice rectangle when you're done, so that way you don't have to kind of piece the sides together. Alright, and you could use this to like die cut some embellishments like buttons or leaves or something if you want to, because you still have, you know, 4 decent pieces. And that's probably how I would use the extra space if I wanted to not waste it, if I thought ahead enough to do that, which I didn't. So now I can kind of see how it's going to lay out in my picture. So I colored a couple different birds and flowers, and I really liked this bird here that had the multicolors, and got this little branch here that he can perch on, he or she. And I'm not sure if I want to use 2 flowers or just 1. They're really pretty, but I don't want to overwhelm it. I think maybe I will do 2, because if I've got that frame, it does kind of balance things out nicely. I want the bird not to be smack dab in the middle though, because I want it to, I want it kind of like use the rule of thirds a little bit. Its focal point would kind of be the face, so I want that to kind of be on one of the bisecting lines. So the rule of thirds basically is if you divide your canvas, whether it be a scrapbook page, a painting, or a card, if you divide it in thirds both ways, then your points of interest should be where the lines intersect. So I want the head to be kind of where the lines intersect. So that's what I'm meaning by the rule of thirds, and then I'll just tuck in some leaves. So that just gave me a basic idea of how I want to lay it out. So now I'm going to set this stuff aside, but I want to add a little bit of color in the background. And this paper is really thin. I use that thin marker paper, which is probably like 20 pound. It's about the same as like copy paper. So I want to keep my background fairly light, but I do want a little bit of color there. So I think I'm going to use my Prima water-soluble oil pastels, and if you don't have these, go ahead and use chalk pastels, use watercolor crayons, use what you have, okay? And you know, I do a lot of product reviews and stuff on my channel. I like trying out new products, and I have sponsored. It's part of the way I make my living and able to put out these free tutorials, is because I do take advertising. But I never want you to feel like you have to go buy something. I just kind of wanted to show you how it how it all works, and then if you decide it's something you want to add to your stash, go ahead. But if you might also realize that, you know what, I have watercolor crayons, I'll do the same thing, or I have this and I'll do the same thing, I don't need that. And I just think it's information, you know, you do with it what you want. Don't feel when you're watching somebody's videos that you have to have exactly what they have in order to make wonderful art. That's not the case. It's good to have nice quality materials, but never let yourself feel that you can't make art because you don't have what so-and-so has. That's the opposite of what I want you to feel. I bet it's the opposite of what most YouTubers want you to feel. We want you to, at least, I can't speak for other YouTubers, but you know, the ones that I know, the ones that I hang out with, I've met some really awesome YouTubers. They all, you know, the ones that I've met, the creative ones that I've met, really, you know, want you to learn and experiment and grow as artists. So I'm trying to keep it a little bit light in the middle here, where I'm going to be gluing, because I know it might not glue so well on the oily oil pastel surface. And these are water-soluble oil pastels, that's why I'm able to blend them with this water. Actually, you can use a baby wipe too if you have these. That would work really well, and it wouldn't warp your paper too much. I've got, I thought I bought baby wipes at the store, and what I bought was actually, it was a soft box of tissues. So I was a little disappointed with that. But maybe if I take a paper towel and I wet it, I can make a faux baby wipe. Let's try that, because that would work really well, I think. Oh yeah, that works just fine. And then you can control your water. Baby wipes have a little bit of moisturizer stuff in them, so I think it can help you from pilling the paper. But I think because these oil pastels are kind of slick, they don't tend to want to pill the paper, so that's nice. I like how it gives it that kind of painterly look anyway. Alright, so I'm just going to pause this for a second, let it dry, grab some glue, and then we're going to come back and put it together. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm using some foam, little foam tabs, and you can use foam tape from the hardware store and cut it into narrow strips. That would be a lot easier than what I'm doing here. These happen to be my favorite, and were leftover pieces from these 3D puzzles my kids had a couple years ago, and it came with so much extra foam adhesive, and it turns out it works so much better than the craft stuff because it seems to be very what's the word? It doesn't seem to dry out and pop off. Like, I've had a lot of foam adhesive in the past, not the kind from the hardware store, because that does seem to be pretty sturdy, but well, it was probably cheaper stuff that I bought, like, you know, from the dollar bins at the craft store or whatever, but it would dry off, and then the embellishments would pop off. And there was one time I had a card in a magazine, and I'm thinking, what is that little square in the corner of my card? And it was a little piece of foam adhesive. The adhesive dried out, so the thing that was stuck on to it had popped off, but the adhesive square was still on the card, and the editor or whatever didn't catch that. And I was just like, what is that? I'm like, oh, I lost a foam square. So after that, I was very picky. So I just want to let you know that that not all foam squares are created equal, and a lot of them will dry out and you will lose their adhesive after a while. So I'm just gonna fill this in here, and I'm trying to decide whether I want to stick down first. I think what I'm gonna do is lay this on my card, and then without taking the stickies off the back, and figure out where I want to stick everything down, because I think if I glue it down first, oh, I can see part of that. I don't want to be able to see that. And you do have a little bit of working time. It seems like you can move it a little bit before the adhesive completely sets. So now that is set in place, I can lay down my pieces. And I think I'm going to use this fine tip glue pen from Stampin' Up. I'm liking that adhesive, and I'm hoping it doesn't show through my paper, because this is really, really thin paper. I've never used it before, but I actually liked coloring on it a lot, and I felt like I could color a little bit faster because it didn't soak up as much ink. So I really kind of like that aspect of it, but we'll see if I can glue it down or if it's going to show, because typically, you know, it's not used in a multimedia craft type application. So I have this little peony here, or magnolia. What is that? I think it's a peony, isn't it? I don't know if that looks funny having two flowers instead of an odd number, but these stamps are really big, and I think it'd be kind of hard to put any more than two on there. And this was a mistake one, but I thought it would work all right for this. In fact, maybe I'll just cut out that middle leaf. I grabbed the neon marker from that PROmarker set by mistake and used it, and the neon markers are water-based. And so it didn't blend, and it kind of left this really rude mark on my, very rude neon markers left a rude mark on my paper. Oh my gosh, I'm in rare form today. So, and I apologize for the, I know you guys are like, yeah, we know Lindsay, she talks, it's what we expect, but everyone, but like, I've been getting a lot of comments lately saying, God, you need to slow down and you talk too much. It's like, you're new here, aren't you? Okay, now I'm going to try to glue everything down and not forget where everything goes, which is kind of difficult. It must start with that branch right there. And the thing, I think, because this glue is super strong and almost wants to glue my cap on, but I think I might be able to just kind of sneak the glue under without moving it too much. So here's hoping I can do that. Oh, I can't see if it's coming out. I'm gonna have to flip it over and do it the old-fashioned way. I just want to make sure I get that kind of angle right of how I wanted it. Because I don't want to have that, because the thing is, this glue is a little shiny. It's kind of like a glossy accent, so I want to make sure that I'm not leaving kind of a snail trail. And I hope this doesn't show through. I'm thinking that maybe it won't because it's a marker paper and it's magical. No, I don't know. Oh, I can't see any glue through now, so hopefully it'll be fine. I'm thinking it might have a little bit of a plastic in it or something, because of how the ink seemed to pool when I was coloring with it. It almost puddled, like if you were coloring on plastic or something, but it did absorb a bit because, as you can see on the back, the color went all the way through. Probably do sun catches with this or something. Wouldn't that be pretty? Like to do, maybe like to color it with the alcohol inks and then do like, oops, I shouldn't have glued that all the way down yet. And then maybe do like a die cut, like a stained glassy die cut, or just like even a freehand illustration or something with like black Sharpies or something. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of room for experimentation there. I'd never used a marker paper before, so I was a little excited to try it out. I think I'm gonna bend those a little bit too. That's a thing. Like, look at your stamps and see what you can do to kind of get different looks. Like, I know that there's been a lot of people using Christmas papers for Valentine's and trying to get a little more use out of their seasonal stuff. But I implore you to use regular paper, get like patterns that are going to last and use them for different holidays. You know, go by the color cues and, you know, you pull your pinks and reds for Valentine's Day, pull your greens and reds for Christmas, or use like those pastel colors for Christmas. See what you can do with what you already have, because I know that we're all trying to save a little bit of money, make wise purchases, and not buy things that are going to go out of style. So my bird ended up a little bit higher than I wanted, but I'm not going to worry about that. I think it's a little too late to... Yeah, I'm not going to try lifting it up because it's going to make it worse. And now I'm just going to remove all my tabs here so I can stick the frame down. And I hope you guys all had a good New Year's Eve. My husband and I went out. I'm usually kind of nervous about going out on New Year's Eve because I'm worried about people kind of driving drunk and stuff. The kids all had plans to sleep over at their different friends' houses, and so, you know, we dropped the last kid off at their sleepover at 6, and we realized that, you know what, we can actually go out and be back before all the crazies are on the road. So we went out to a little Vietnamese restaurant in Bangor, and it's a place that's wonderful. It's never packed. You can get right in and get a table, and the food is delicious. And then we went over to the bookstore after, right in the same little plaza area, and I grabbed a couple DIY books that I'm excited to read because they're actually written by bloggers, a couple bloggers that I recognized, and I think they'll be kind of fun to read, and they're, you know, pretty funny, almost like comedy. So I'm actually gonna narrow my frame up a little bit here. Okay, so we can see that pretty bird's face a little bit. I don't like how crowded it is. Maybe I could just sneak this frame up a little bit. I'm gonna see. We'll see if this adhesive is set yet. Hopefully it isn't. This is how you make cards, guys. You have to move things. You have to, you know, you have to go with the flow a little bit. I think I can move this up a little bit. Then you get that like little bit of fear. It's like, did I just glue all this stuff on an upside down card? I've done that before in watercolor class where we painted on watercolor cards, and then we take it off the board and we realize we completely painted it on the wrong side. Oh, there. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then if you want to add more embellishments, you can. This would be a great place for a sentiment if you wanted to stamp something on there, or you could leave it blank and you could put something on the inside of the card, or you can even put like you could layer a die cut over the top. Just make sure you put that foam adhesive on the back so that it doesn't sink. So I hope you like this video. Again, if you want to see how I colored the stuff, that is on the video right before this on my YouTube channel. I want to thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful 2016. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like this tutorial. And until next time, happy crafting.